Are you serious?
It's the Morning Rant, live on the Sports Pig app and sportspigradio.com.
And a good morning, everyone, and welcome into the Morning Rant. It is Thirsty Thursday here inside our Carriage Kia studios. Dave Garner with you for the next hour as we take you through the latest in spring training with the Atlanta Braves. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the other things going on. And a big night for our local high schools last night as, again, our boys were in quarterfinal action in some of the areas, of course, that we're in from our listenership. And we appreciate you guys being with us right here on the program. Again, a lot of ways to listen to this program, and we're boosting our social media. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. You can catch full episodes now of the Morning Rant on YouTube. We do have a YouTube channel. We finally stepped into the 2000s, I guess, and so we have a YouTube channel, but we appreciate you guys being with us. Joining us right now, again, my co-host for the next couple of days, a man that really needs no introduction, a guy that I've known for quite some time now, and again, we appreciate him being with us right here. The one, the only, the golden boy himself, Will Cooper, joining us right here on the Morning Rant. How you doing, partner?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. I just had a quick question for you. That headset you're wearing, do they make that in the men's size, or does it have to be like a rubber band wrapped around a watermelon?
Let me tell you something about this headset, okay? This thing right here, and I know that people maybe are watching on YouTube can see it, but this thing, it doesn't expand any. And you know what? And before you even start making fun of me, because I know that's what you're going to be doing all the day here today, but this thing, like, I mean, I guess kind of have a little bit of a big head. I got a big forehead, you know, and I lean into it. But this thing does not expand any. Like the ears don't expand any lower. So like I can barely, as you can see, I can barely get both sides of this headset on. Now I have a headset. I went out and bought one the other day, and it was one of the nice Beats ones and everything. It fits really well. But it has to charge, you know, so you got to watch the charge on it. And it went out right in the middle of the show yesterday. I was sitting here with John Davis, and so I had to, you know, I was like, you know what, I gotta throw the old reliable back on here. So, you know.
I mean, you know, you mentioned that with the YouTube channel, you moved into 2006. The headset brings you back down to about 1997. So you average out about 2003 right now.
Well, our engineer Perry is in here with us this morning too, inside our studio, and he's working on some other stuff actually. But he and I don't know if you can hear what's going on, Perry, or not, because I don't have the monitor up right now. But again, yeah, he's making fun of the old school headset here, so we may have to replace some things. He's actually got a headset in his hand right now. Okay, wait a minute. He's handing me another hit. Well, yeah, I don't know how ambitious we want to be. Maybe during the first commercial break, we'll see if we can swap out the first headset.
I didn't mean to already bully you guys into these things. I was just making an observation.
You have a history of that, and so again, between you and some of the other folks around here, but no, for those that don't know, obviously, Will Cooper joining us here. He, of course, spent some time with the radio stations here locally, covering a lot of high school sports. So we are going to dive into some high school basketball in our next segment and kind of talk about who's where. And we do have some big announcements to make as far as our coverage for the weekend, because we have, and as you guys know, I mean, we have a super fantastic tradition of girls basketball, especially along the Highway 515 area and the 575 corridor. And so we've got like 7 girls basketball teams, essentially, that are taking part in the state semifinals this weekend. So now the boys got beat last night. So just to kind of tease that, I don't think we have any boys teams locally that are going to be playing in the semis or, you know, going down to Macon. Unfortunately, Calhoun got beat last night against East Hall. Both those teams have a lot of great tradition. I don't know if you followed any of that, Coop, as far as any of the basketball stuff that's been going on.
Yeah, we actually had a conversation about this the other day. We were talking about buy-in with high school sports, and one of the things that really stood out to me is in 2023, Cherokee made it all the way to the final game against Wheeler, which was a big deal because it was a region game. But, you know, we went to the Mill on Etowah down in Canton, and it was one of those things where it was packed. They had the game on the big screen, and that's comparable to some of the most buy-in that I've ever seen. So, you know, since then, I've tried to look into it a little more. You know, obviously, graduated from Creekview. I saw Creekview, the girls team made it to the Final Four as well. So I've been a little tied in here and there. I should be able to keep a grasp on it as we move along.
You've got your Creekview, of course, primarily they're blue, but they also have the green, which is the green that you're wearing, basically, is kind of what I would call a Creekview green. And you know what's funny about that? I almost wore that same color shirt this morning. So wouldn't have that been funny? We would have had something else that we would have been able to have poked at each other at. But I'm going with a light green instead today, so at least we contrasted, somewhat. So,
no, I appreciate that because we already have the grays matching, so matching shirts would have been a little too far, I think.
Well, and you showed me your ball cap. Now, I brought a ball cap in the studio today because we're going to be talking about a lot of spring training, a lot of Atlanta Braves stuff, but I'm not wearing it. I may wear it this afternoon, but, with this tiny little headset that I have, I don't know if the headset would actually fit if I did put the hat on or what have you. We'll have to try that maybe. But again, and you're repping a lot of different teams as well. There you've got a lot of high school teams all over the country that you follow. So again, it's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, I want to talk real quick. One of the things that I've been doing this week is kind of, introducing our co-host to the audience a little bit. And obviously, different folks that are going to be jumping in. And, people already know a little bit about you. You already told us a little bit about Creekview. You and I met years ago whenever you were kind of first transitioning into broadcasting. And there's a lot of stories that are some we can't tell, of course, on the radio. But there's a lot of fun things that we're going to end up talking about as time goes on. I'll be with you tomorrow as well. And you'll be here on the program again as we kind of continue our Braves talk. But there's a lot of different things I'm looking forward to the audience learning about you, and it's going to be fun to have you as part of this. And again, you're going to bring a lot of different perspective to it because with John Davis, he is very football centric. Obviously, having been a former, two-time All-American, a professional with the Buffalo Bills. And then, of course, we've got, Billy who's going to be coming in, and he's going to be bringing some different slants and takes on some different things, and he's known for, hot takes. And then to me, out of all of them, you're kind of the most well-rounded, I would say, of all the co-host and the different people involved because you do have kind of a general knowledge of a little bit of everything. I like to call you the Swiss Army knife, really, of sports coverage. Is that fair?
Hey, I'll take it, man. Anything that doesn't involve a derogatory term about my looks coming from you, I will gladly take it because that's normally what I get.
Yeah, because it doesn't work the other way, of course. So, yeah, exactly. I see exactly what's going on here. So, anyway, man, hey, real quick, we're going to talk about spring training a lot more throughout the game. The biggest topic, obviously, going on over the last couple of days has been the Jurickson Profar story, the suspension for 162. Your initial thoughts about that real quick as we kind of jump in and talk about the Braves.
What are we doing?
Exactly.
One time I get it, I guess. Maybe. You're a professional ball player. They're paying you millions of dollars, and everybody else seems to be okay with getting stuff in their body that they're aware of and gets them through the test. And you mess it up once, and I didn't know. I've done everything I can to fix it. The thing that spoke loudest to me was the players when they were interviewed at spring training yesterday before their spring training game against Columbia, who's playing in the World Baseball Classic.
Right.
But the players were very reserved about it, which I kind of thought they were going to say, you know what, his contract's over after this year, we're done. But I suppose through the Players Association, they can't say too much. Right, I don't understand it. I wish that they had their money back from the year prior as well. They could just void the whole contract. But the big thing for Braves fans to remember, and I'll tease this for later in the show, is they get their $18 million back. And they have somebody in the clubhouse that I didn't remember they had signed until I looked at it yesterday, and I think we have a solution in-house.
All right, we'll talk about that coming up here in a few minutes. We are, as I mentioned earlier, we are growing on social media as we launch the show this week, of course. So we're just kind of getting our legs underneath us. But you can follow the Sports Pig and the Morning Rant on a lot of different social mediums. You can pull up content all day long. Our show, the Morning Rant, is now available on Spotify. It's available on Podbean or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's also available, the audio version is loaded up on the website at sportspigradio.com. Again, we are your home for ESPN Radio in North Georgia. So there's a lot of different ways that you can listen to the station, but there's a lot of different ways that you can also hear the content from this program. And one of those ways is right there on our website at sportspigradio.com. Our social mediums, though, we also have the Morning Rant on Instagram now at Sportspig Radio, or actually at the morning, on Instagram, it's at the Morning Rant _ WPGY. I'll get that right in a minute. And then the Sports Pig stuff you can get on Facebook. We have a Sports Pig Facebook page. We also have a Twitter account for the Sports Pig. It's at Sports Pig Radio. And we actually had a comment on there yesterday because we shared a clip from yesterday's show about us talking about the whole Jerks and Profar thing. And one of the ways that we interact with you, our listeners, is through our social media. So we encourage you, if you have a hot take, if you have a rant that you want to share, go to any of our social mediums, because between the Sports Pig and the Morning Rant, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, of course, we're on the web, and we're also on podcast. And, of course, the full episodes of these shows now available on YouTube. But we had a comment yesterday on Twitter from the new man. It says, Profar must be a subverbal barley sentiment to use PED in this day and age. Players are more screened than NASA staff. And I thought that was interesting. And again, because, there are a lot of people that are kind of ticked off about this, and rightfully so, because, it's the second time it happened. And there's a lot of details that we still don't know, but we do know one thing. Apparently, he's already cleaned out his locker. Apparently, he's not even in camp anymore. He's not anywhere visible to be seen. So apparently, Profar kind of knows, at this point, the appeal with him being a second-time offender. The appeal is only good if he wins it, but it's a standing thing, so it's not like he continues to play while the appeal process is playing out. I mean, he's got to come off the field, and it looks like he's already left the team at this point.
And I think the main thing is that if this had happened 2 weeks before, I think Mark Bowman wrote about this on MLB.com, then we could have talked to Marcell Ozuna, who signed an $11 million contract with the Pirates. We could have gotten him back for probably $8 or $9 million. I would say he would take a discount to stay with the Braves.
Absolutely.
And was he great? No, but at least he's depth at that DH position. The biggest thing now is, and again, we'll talk about who I think they could use to replace him at the DH slot, but outfield-wise, I know we signed Mike Yastrzemski. That's fine, but it looks to me like they really have one of two options. You can either take the $18 million you got back and go find some, Alex Verdugo type guy,
right?
Or there's somebody that they're going to try and pull up from AAA. But either option is not that great, and you have to assume it's a depth position, especially with Ha-Seong Kim, who broke his wrist on the ice in Korea, who now we have to play a backup shortstop the entire time anyway. So we're already starting the season thin. I think you guys have talked about the pitching having their injuries even before spring training started, just when pitchers and catchers reported. So we're already way behind the 8 ball, but I do think that there are some options that we'll go over later in the show that could provide at least a little bit of a holdover until we get some of these guys back.
There you go. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about Brave Spring Training. Also, the World Baseball Classic, you touched on it. We're going to talk some high school sports and some other things coming up a little bit later on the show. Again, we are the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia. We also are your home, the official home of the Atlanta Braves here in North Georgia. That is, again, the Sports Pig. We're up against our first break. We'll take a timeout and come right back. Again, we are the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia on the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com.
Big opinions of the big games from the big mouths.
Man, I think it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's the Morning Rant on WPGY, the Sports Pig, North Georgia's home for ESPN Radio.
Sit down.
And welcome back to the program. Dave Garner with you till the top of the hour. Again, we'll give way to Chuck Oliver right at 11 o'clock. He'll go from 11 to 1. And you can see online I've made a wardrobe change here. So, again, Perry, our engineer, hooked me up with a much larger headset to fit over my large head here. But the thing I would say about that, though, is that this thing is I might have to go back at some point to the other heads because this thing is gigantic. But it did allow me to put a ball cap on. I am repping the Braves logo now, the Braves A. And so, again, hey, all is good in the world, right?
I really have 2 points about this. First of all, the headset makes your head look normal sized, so I suppose the larger headset does have an effect. But the second thing is, when I run for president in about 40 years, my campaign slogan will be "Bullying works," and we need to bring it back. And this is a prime example here of we've at least made you look like you've gone from 1997, you've moved up to 2012. So welcome to. Not even this decade, but this millennium.
You're saying I said it's back a decade at least. I mean, is what you're pretty much saying right now with this look.
I mean, don't you always?
See, this is the kind of stuff. This is the kind of banter you guys can expect moving forward here. Anytime I have Will Cooper on the program. Hey, I do want to mention too a big story. Lou Holtz passing away at the age of 89. Obviously, Coach Holtz is a legend. There's certainly no doubt about that. Of course, his time at Notre Dame. I grew up. Now I'm a lot older than you, obviously, Coop. But I grew up watching the old Notre Dame Miami rivalries. The Catholics versus the convicts. The whole thing about that. And I know our friend Art Mosley would probably like to chime in on that as well, being a big Hurricane. But again, Lou Holtz, legendary coach, coached a lot of different places, was a commentator for a long time, and obviously just a great guy from everything that you hear about him. And, of course, his family, of course, announcing that at the age of 89 he did pass away yesterday. So, again, our thoughts and condolences to the Lou Holtz family there. One of the things, and I'm a big Frank Caliendo fan. I love impressionist humor. And I tell you, the number one impersonator that I felt like nailed Lou Holtz as far as impressions go was Frank Caliendo. If you've never heard, and not to make fun or poke fun of, but in kind of an honor and tribute of Coach Holtz, if you've never heard Frank Caliendo do his impression of Lou Holtz, it's spot on. It's spot on.
And I'll give credit where credit's due for our friends over at ESPN. Pat McAfee has one of his toxic table guys. He did a full-length interview wearing a full Lou Holtz mask, impersonating Lou Holtz, and Lou Holtz did a full hour-long interview with him, just playing right along, like they're talking about each other.
Exactly. Yeah, he leaned right into it. Yeah.
I love that. And you mentioned kind of your past with that. I mean, growing up, I really became a big college football fan in 2007, and started watching every Alabama game I could. My dad was obsessed with college football, and my whole family for the most part. But I remember Lou Holtz at night. Vern Lundquist calling the CBS games
Legendary.
On SEC. Gary Danielson just announced he's retiring. I think people in the South are all cheering.
They're cheering
for that.
I never understood that.
Never understood it.
I get it. People are like, oh, he's just kind of this and that and says whatever and all these things. But, man, I think, and again, I may be the minority here, but I feel like, Gary Danielson is just as much of a legend. And I know he says some things sometimes that are kind of obvious, this, that, and the other. But, I mean, hey, man, I never had any problem with him at all. And he and Vern together, I felt like we're always such a great team. So
that's the voice of my childhood, man. And then obviously, with the college game day crew kind of shifting as well, with Coach leaving that as well. So, I mean, it makes me sad. And this is going to be really random, but we watched Happy Gilmore 2, and Vern Lundquist is doing the announcing.
Yeah.
That. Which I know he still does the PGA,
like the original Happy Gilmore. Yeah.
Right. But some of the stuff that he says totally freaked my brain out, because it's like, this is the same guy that's announcing, Alabama national championships when you're 10 years old, and here he is bringing up, Eminem references and sitting at a table with Post Malone and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I was so mind blown. Yeah. Anyway, totally off track, but it's sorry to hear about Lou Holtz. I think he was a great man and seemed like he had a big impact on the game. So
we talk a lot about our broadcast influences. One of the things we've been talking about here at with our group and with our sister station down the hall as well. And you think about Vern, I think about Keith Jackson. Of course, you're a big Crimson Tide fan. We'll get to that at some point. But again, I think about Keith Jackson. Oh, Nelly, Alabama, and all those different broadcast personalities over the years. And of course, Lou Holtz will go down, I think, just as much of a broadcast personality, especially the latter part of his career, than he will as a coach. To a certain extent. Whether you agreed with what he said or not, he sometimes had some hot takes and some different things about stuff, whether you agreed with it or not. So he definitely made his presence felt, not just as a coach, but also as a broadcaster. Hey, let's talk a little bit of some high school sports. Again, we talked about it, and some announcements to be made here. We've got a couple of girls' games that we are going to be broadcasting starting tomorrow over on our sister station. That is 101.1 FM. That's the Pulse. And, again, we're going to be joining you courtside tomorrow at 5 o'clock as the Murray County Lady Indians take on Columbia out of Atlanta. And the semifinal matchup tomorrow, 5 p.m. That one's over in Douglasville at the fairly new Legacy Arena, which is the kind of the convention center, if you will, for the Douglas County school system. And so, again, that's going to take place at 5 o'clock tomorrow live over on our sister station, 101.1 FM. And then on Saturday, we're going to go back to Douglasville for a 5 o'clock tip-off as the Pickens High Dragonettes take on the Heritage Catoosa Lady Generals in the semifinals of the 3A girls bracket. That is going to be another live 5 o'clock tip-off, and you can hear all the action again tomorrow at 5 and Saturday at 5 over on our sister station. That is 101.1 The Pulse. And Jess Walker will be joining me courtside as we go live with the play-by-play right at 5 o'clock both days. So looking forward to that. And, Coop, we talked about that with high school sports. I know you followed a lot of high school sports. Your thoughts particularly on the tradition of high school girls basketball in the area. And for what you know, I know you're a big football guy, but like I said, you're well-rounded. It's great to see so much representation in our local area. And I know the game you're going to have your eye on, though, is going to be that Creekview-River Ridge matchup, right? Those two going head-to-head at Georgia State. Two schools separated literally by miles, if you will, and one of them is going to go to the state championship. So it's an exciting time for girls basketball.
Yeah, we talk a lot about girls basketball as you get further north in the state, and, Pickens has had a great run. I remember back when I was first starting in radio, Gilmer with Coach Nunn up there, they had some really great teams. Fannin has seemed to put together some really great teams. But growing up in Cherokee County, obviously that's where my attention was. For Creekview, it was kind of one of those where it seemed like Sequoia, River Ridge, and Cherokee were the strongholds of girls basketball, and Creekview was never really able to punch up in that weight class. So it's really great to see them in the Final Four. Obviously River Ridge girls, I believe they've won 2 state titles over the last 4 years.
They won it last year. Yeah, they're the defending state champions.
Yeah, they've been on a run. So, it would be great for all of my, Grizzly family to be able to punch up there. But, either way, as far as I'm concerned, I just want to see local representation. Right. We talk about it in every sport, football, baseball, but when you get to the Final Four, Elite Eight, I just want to see that power shifted north. I just want to take it away from South Georgia for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe it's a different culture, but as long as it keeps coming north, I'm good with it.
Well, and we've seen that with football. Honestly, and not to throw off on South Georgia, because I've had the opportunity to call football in South Georgia, and I love my friends down in Valdosta and Lowndes and some of those areas, and there are some programs certainly that make a lot of noise in the postseason. But even with basketball and even with football, you see it. The power has shifted north. It's the Gwinnett County teams, it's the Cobb, it's even some of the Atlanta schools that traditionally haven't been strong, but you're seeing some of the new players as well. And then, you got to think about the private school bracket as well. There's a lot of great private schools that are kind of playing basketball-wise now and football in their own bracket come postseason time that are playing in the regular seasons with some public schools. But there's a lot of teams here in North Georgia. I really do feel like if you look at the brackets of the state football championships, 80+% of them basically are coming from North Georgia. And I think you can say the same for basketball this year too.
Yeah, I think for South Georgia, they still have some hot pockets, when you look at football, there's still Lee County, Thomas County Central, obviously TCC obliterated Gainesville for the state title. Yes. But to your point, it does seem like for whatever reason that over the last decade, the North Georgia teams seem to have more of a puncher's chance year over year about getting somewhere a little bit further. Even if you look at a team like Woodstock in football that historically, has had some up and downs, but over the last 5-6 years, really made a resurgence. Is it their fault that they got Milton last year and then Thomas County Central this year in the bracket? No, but you still feel good about it, and I feel like that's the opposite in basketball right now, where. Yeah. If you flip over your bracket and you see that you got to come out of the River Ridge side or you got to come out of the Pickens side, depending on your classification, you're probably not feeling too great about your chances.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So that's a nice way to be.
It is. Speaking of Woodstock, you and I talked about this. Coach Devine, the head football coach, by the way, taking a job down at IMG Academy down in Bradenton as the postgraduate football head coach, I guess, or whatever that official title is. They have a program at IMG. Everybody knows IMG is a big, national powerhouse, kind of a recruiting, sports, but really a football mill, if you will. And but they have a gap year program that comes after the senior year, where if the guys have not really gotten the offer that they want yet, they can play that gap year post senior year. And I think Coach Devine is going to be the head coach of that program, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you are right. And the reason I shook my head when you're telling me that is not because I don't think it's great for him. And right. I have talked to Coach Devine plenty. He is a fantastic man. I'm so proud for him and this opportunity that he has. I'm not taking that away from him. But he took a team in Woodstock that hadn't won a game in 4 years, won 3 games his first year, and then back-to-back playoff runs, beat teams that they shouldn't have beat. Right. And it's like we were waiting to see the culmination of this kind of coming up in the year upcoming, because some of these kids that have done so well, not to name drop, but Trace Washington, for example, Graham Burmeister, their lefty quarterback, right. These are both 3-star kids that have an opportunity to be 4 stars by the end of their senior year. This was like 2026 was going to be the year, and now they got to go find a new head coach. I feel bad for the administration at Woodstock because it was a home run hire with Coach Devine, and it's going to be really hard to replace him. But I again, listen, if IMG calls, what do you want me to do? You want me to not take?
Kind of a hard one to turn down at that point. Absolutely. So again, a lot of big news coming out of our local high schools. Hey, we're up against our second break. When we come back, we will jump back into some Braves talk and some other things going on. Is Atlanta getting a hockey team? There's plenty more to talk about and discuss on this edition of the Morning Rant. Again, we are the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia on the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com.
We bring the heat. You bring the trash talk.
Come on, man. Are you serious?
It's the Morning Rant, live on the Sports Pig app and sportspigradio.com.
And a good morning, everyone. Once again, Dave Garner with you till the top of the hour today. Again, Chuck Oliver, 11 to 1 this afternoon right here on the Sports Pig. And then from 1 to 3, we turn it back over to our friends at ESPN. Rich Eisen from 1 to 3 this afternoon, and then Paul Feinbaum from 3 to 7 right here on the Sports Pig. I love Paul's promo that he did for us. Paul actually did a promo for us, and it's almost as if he can't believe that the station is actually called the Sports Pig, because it's like hey, Paul Feinbaum here on the home of ESPN Radio, the Sports Pig. The Sports Pig here in North Georgia. Yes, that's the name of the station right here. We are the Sports Pig. We appreciate Paul and all of our friends at ESPN. Again, the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia. Coop, we've been talking about the fact that, the way it works basically is we are a partner with ESPN. We have a lot of partnerships, though. We are the home of NASCAR. We run all the Cup races right here on the Sports Pig. We're home to MRN and PRN networks for NASCAR. We're the home to Georgia basketball, Tennessee football, Georgia Tech football. I know that pains your heart as an Alabama fan to hear that, but we do have a lot of partnerships and things like that. Of course, we are now one of your new North Georgia flagships for the Atlanta Braves, and we are going to have some ticket giveaways coming up soon. As you guys interact with us more on social media, I promise we've got some concerts coming up. Okay, Dave Matthews Band's coming up. Motley Crue is going to be in Atlanta over in Alpharetta in August. That's one we've already got circled. So again, not just sports tickets. All right, we've got a partnership with Atlanta United right now. We are giving away Atlanta United tickets on our sister station over on 101.1 The Pulse, but we're going to be giving them away right here too. So again, keep it locked to both stations. Easy to listen to both stations. They both have an app. They both have a live stream. And again, the Sports Pig and the Morning Rant is now all over social media. So a lot of different ways to listen to the station, a lot of different ways to listen to this show, even after the fact, because we realize if you have a real job from 10 to 11 a.m., you probably don't have the ability. And I'm not making fun of anybody that's listening live because we appreciate you. Maybe you're a third shifter, or what have you. But
maybe we're on in the office.
Well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, people do. They got their AirPods in or whatever, and I would have said earbuds, but you'd have made fun of me and been like, "Oh man, you just set the show back another 10 years with that." Do people still? They don't say earbuds anymore, do they?
I would say earbuds, but I'm not.
That's still a term?
I don't
Still
think
a
I'm
thing?
part of the youngest generation anymore, so I probably
Look at you,
not
man.
the authority on that.
You're stepping up now. Look at you. Well, I'm not the young guy on the block anymore. So I love it. I love your
Rode hard and put up
swagger, man.
wet.
There you go. Oh, man. Oh, man. Hey, we were talking about the Braves. I want to jump in. I want to make sure we get to this. So let's talk a little bit more about, we talked about in the first segment, Jerks and Profar and that whole debacle. So who do you like? I mean, I know there's a lot of options as far as guys that maybe can platoon. I think Mike Yastrzemski has shown enough in spring training to probably lock down the opening day left field spot. Not to say, though, that they're not going to platoon that position. I know Eli White is still hanging around. I know there's some guys that we've seen over the last couple of years. But let's kind of go down this lineup a little bit, kind of, position by position, if you will, or at least the ones that have question marks beside them, and talk about your thoughts at this point in spring training as we near opening day.
Yeah, I mean, catcher's a pretty good position for us. Murphy with the Rookie of the Year, Baldwin kind of platooning there. And I'll make this first stop. There's a guy that we signed in Jonah Heim that is from Texas, the Texas Rangers. He's from New York originally, but this is a guy that is a switch hitter. And he's hit over 270 in his last 4 seasons with the Rangers.
Yeah.
I think he would make a fantastic, replacement in the lineup for that Jerks and Profar type production. Now, you can't stick him at left field. He's 30 years old and he's played catcher his whole life. I don't think he would have the speed or ability to do that.
Yeah.
Then it does become Eli White, Yastrzemski kind of platooning in that left field spot. Everybody else is pretty taken care of. First base, you feel like Matt Olson is a lock. Obviously, Austin Riley at third. I mean, I think the big thing for the Braves is, when we brought these guys in, we were told, these guys are going to hit 270, 30 home runs, and if we get that on the corners of our field, so catcher combines for that, your first base, third base, and then your corner outfielders can do that, then we're going to be good.
Yeah,
that hasn't been the case over the last 2 years, Dave. And I remember last year we started the season 3-11.
Oh yeah,
and
we're 0-7 out of the gate. Yeah, so
I mean, we're looking at Austin Riley batting less than 100. We're looking at Matt Olson batting less than 110. I mean, these guys have to get off to a fast start. Obviously, in spring training, they're 9-3. They look like they've hit the ball better. Now, 9-3 is a bit reductive because how often do they actually play? In spring training, historically, if you do well in spring training, you're not good in the regular season. So. Hopefully they temper it down a little bit.
So can Austin Riley bounce back, too? That's one of the things, because I think mentioning those guys real quick before we move on to shortstop and DH, but being on the corners there, I mean, Riley obviously battling through a lot last year. This team was decimated. I mean, let's be honest, with injuries, as we all know. Can Riley bounce back? Is he ever going to kind of regain that form? Because and the reason I ask that, because I feel like at this point, I mean, he's not – the young guy anymore, really. Now he's kind of taken over as one of those veteran players, that's got a little bit more, wear and tear on him at this point. I mean, I guess I'm saying I think he has the ability to do that. I just hope he can.
Yeah, I think so. None of these guys are too old yet. I mean, and the Braves are very conscious of that age. That's why we don't have Freddie Freeman anymore. Right. You mentioned shortstop. Obviously, Ha-Seong Kim was the answer in only the way the Braves can have. He was back home in Korea, and it slipped on the ice and broke his wrist. So he's out for 3 months.
So you like Dubon? Is he?
Dubon's not a bad pick.
Yeah.
Mauricio Dubon, and then I also thought that Jorge Mateo is another option. An experienced guy. Obviously, the batting average isn't there. I think he's a career 220 hitter, some real close to the Mendoza line. But plus glove, and sometimes if Matt Olson, Austin Riley, Ronald Acuna, even Ozzie needs to get back to hitting 250. If those guys do that, then I'm cool with taking a defensive upgrade over the average slot in there.
So who's the opening day shortstop? Mateo or Dubon? I mean, at this point,
I think Dubon. I think Dubon, but I think it'll be where they rotate them day in, day out.
So you'll probably platoon that middle infield some, I would think.
I think you have to until one of them, you ride the hot hand. It's kind of what they did last year with Baldwin.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, and let them earn that spot coming out of camp. I know there's some kind of fringe players that are right on the line as far as folks to kind of plug in. I know they've already released a couple because they want to give these guys some swings down the minor leagues and develop some of these guys. And it's not that some of them are not good enough to play on the opening day roster, but I think from a Alex Anthopoulos point of view, you want to get these guys down and get them 30, 40 at-bats or swings, of course, on the and before you bring them up, after the first month or so of the season. So it'll be interesting to see. What about the DH? I think now with Profar being out of the picture and obviously Marcell Ozuna being gone now, I think that's probably one of the biggest question marks when we talk about this Atlanta Braves team is what are we going to do at the DH spot?
Yeah, I mean, if it was me, I would let Jonah Heim he's your DH for the rest of the year. Again, not that he's a bad defensive catcher, but Sean Murphy, a 3-time Gold Glove winner. Drake Baldwin seemed to really show some flashes at the end of the year in learning how to call pitches. Those guys have been in the system. They're working with some of these young pitchers, I should say. I would feel better about that. Now, Jonah Heim can obviously come in if you're on a 7-day schedule and, you've used your catchers for 2-3 days in a row, then he can be a lay-in there. But I would just feel really good about him as the DH. Again, a career 271 hitter, and, with the Rangers, he has plenty of pop. He's a switch hitter, so he takes care of both sides.
Right.
So that's how I would go.
Yeah, the numbers are there, I think, to justify that if that's the decision, because they're going to have to do something, obviously, with that position. And I think that on the days where Murphy is in the lineup, I think probably Baldwin's your DH. I mean, I think I could see some kind of interchangeability there in the offensive lineup, depending on who's not behind the plate that day defensively. But, yeah, I do like Heim. I mean, he seems to be a guy stepping in. And I know you follow these guys a lot more. You and I spent a lot of time over in Rome working with the then Rome Braves, and we got to see some guys, make a rapid ascent to the majors, like Spencer Strider, Michael Harris. I mean, I remember all those guys, and then within like a year or two, I mean, boom, they're there. They're on the club, and I'm trying to remember the name. Who was that shortstop that ended up coming up? He came right out of Rome, basically, spent maybe a week in Gwinnett, and then
on the
roster, and then ended up shipping him to the Red Sox. Grissom. You're right. Yeah, Grissom. Good call out there, partner. But yeah, so again, it's one of those things where that's one thing I do love about baseball is that guys get an opportunity. There's some guys that play their entire career in the minor leagues, and then there's other guys that go right from Double-A right to the big squad. I mean, it just depends. Or Single-A, high ball, or what have you. So, and now all the Braves franchises are in the state. So there's no more Mississippi Braves, which I kind of hate that, but it is what it is. So we'll see how it all pans out. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they kind of have to. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense because you can get any player you want to the clubhouse within 12 hours. It's shorter than that even, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Again, chopping it up about the Braves spring training here with my man, the Golden Boy, Will Cooper. Dave Garner with you right here till 11 o'clock, till the top of the hour. Then we'll give way to Chuck Oliver with Southern Sports today. Again, Chuck does a great job for us. Again, appreciate you guys being with us. We are the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia. Coming up on the other side of our final break, we're going to talk a little bit more spring training, but we also have a couple other just kind of roundtable tidbits to throw out there as we launch a new segment on the show called Now That's What I'm Talking About. And we'll have that for you coming up here in the next few minutes. Stay with us again. The Morning Rant live on the Sports Pig. We're the home of ESPN Radio in North Georgia on the Sports Pig app and online at sportspigradio.com. Our little live stream there thing that we had going on with the video cut off, which that never happens. So, again, we're working through it. But, man, but picking right back up where you're talking about with that World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, it's just a culmination of so many different teams that have so many one-off players coming here and there and everywhere. It's such a difficult task to win that. But I do think that Team USA, really their pitching is what sets them apart from everybody else. Of course, the lineup does have plenty of heavy hitters with Bryce Harper and guys like that. But still, at the end of the day, I think that Team USA is – I don't think they're a Vegas-on favorite. I think it's the Dominican and – Venezuela's pretty high up there, and the Netherlands because they pick up Curacao as well.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking about the World Cup coming to Atlanta, and now you got the World Baseball Classic, and I think a lot of major sports leagues are jumping on the whole World Classic bandwagon. Ever since with the World Cup, and then you obviously had the hockey, the Four Nations face-off that took place last year, and of course that led right into the Olympics this year, and so you're starting to see more worldwide competition. I mean, when you think about Major League Baseball, you think about the NBA, you're already involving athletes from around the world. But now the NFL, playing games overseas, we're starting to see a lot of that with them as well to try to grow the sport globally. And, of course, by the way, the Atlanta Falcons were named as the team playing in Madrid this year in Spain. We don't know the opponent yet. So there are a lot of efforts, and I think the World Baseball Classic. Do you remember back, I think it was 2013, you remember the brawl between Mexico and Canada? Remember the benches cleared because they were trying to – the tie break apparently was run differential, and so Canada was trying to run up the score on Mexico, and they started throwing at people. Mexico started throwing at them, and it just went – it got off the rails quick.
As it can in some of these. I mean, again, you mentioned the four nations face off in hockey. You boo the national anthem. It's not going to go
you
well
get beat
for you
down.
with the Chuck brothers.
Yeah, I was going to say, man, between Brady Tkachuk and Matthew Tkachuk, those guys don't really, they're looking for the gloves to come off, right? And so I thought
Brady Tkachuk, he looks like a 1980s bully trope character, and he's a fight psychopath, by the way.
Right? Yeah, he is.
Why you would ever think that was a smart idea is beyond me.
Why was that a
Obviously,
good idea?
Found that out in the Olympic game.
Exactly. The greatest thing was that opening match last year in the Four Nations face-off when there were 3 fights in the first 9 seconds, like right from the opening puck drop. Boom, the gloves come off. I mean, they already had it just premeditated, predetermined. They were going to fight each other. And so, you had 2 fights before the match really even got underway. And then the third fight came on the first shot on goal, 9 seconds into the match. They throw off the gloves, start going at it. It was great, man. It was great TV. It was a great story. Obviously, Canada ended up winning in the championship after the U.S. had beat them in the preliminary matchup there. But again, a lot to be made. So the big question, I guess, is Atlanta going to get a hockey team? Because there's a lot of talk about that. And we'll talk about this story as it continues to develop. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it today. But your thoughts initially about Atlanta possibly getting another franchise?
Yeah, growing up in the early 2000s, big Thrashers fan. We went to a few games as a kid, and I remember, obviously they weren't a great team. Danny Heatley, Ilya Kovalchuk on the first line.
Oh, yeah.
But I will say this. One thing that matters a lot to me about that hockey team is the branding with it. And I was thinking, if we're going to have to go back to the drawing board and come up with a new name, but the NHL still owns the logo and the naming rights to the Thrashers.
See, I would love for it to be the Thrashers personally. I mean, it makes sense. It is the state bird, and it's a great logo. It's a great. I have one of the old jerseys, and I love it. I mean, and it's still. I love I hope they bring it back personally. Now, other people may want to say, no, we don't want to go back to the past, but I think that if you go back to that and you start it again, then you can say, well, it's still technically the same kind of look and feel, and it's not like, well, let's try it a third time with a third different name and see if it sticks.
Yeah. And I think now so many people have moved into Atlanta that it's kind of like the Falcons problem where when they play the Steelers, there's going to be more Pittsburgh fans than Atlanta fans.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But they should be able to keep the stands full. And if they're pretty successful, then I think you will get a younger group of fans that like whatever the Atlanta team would be called.
Yeah.
And that would be a big goot.
Well, I think that, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday with Big John and the fact that you've got a little bit more of a melting pot now in Atlanta than you did certainly when the Flames were here back in the 70s. And then with the Thrashers, it was just, like I said, I mean, it was basically just a dysfunctional ownership group. It wasn't because of lack of support. I mean, like I said, there were 9 guys that just hated each other, didn't get along. They sold the team off. So, again, we've contributed to the Calgary Flames. We've contributed to the Winnipeg Jets, the former Thrashers. And so maybe if we do get the third opportunity, which I feel like we will, I mean, because if you're the NHL and you're looking at expanding, how are you going to turn down the money? I mean, if somebody's willing to pay you $1 billion, you're more than likely, if you're trying to grow your sport, you're going to take it, right? I mean, that's just basic economics.
And how does Nashville have a team? How does Carolina have a team? And Atlanta, one of the top 10 sports markets in the country, doesn't get one.
One of the greatest teams is in Miami, Florida, of all places. I mean, come on, when you think ice hockey, that's the last place you think of. But the Florida Panthers, of course, are there. Tampa Bay, Lightning, obviously, and it's probably only a matter of time before someone like Jacksonville or somebody gets a franchise like that as well. So, again, there's a lot of things coming up. Hey, one of the things we're going to be talking a lot about over the next couple of weeks in the next month or so is March Madness. Of course, we're leading up to that. We talked about the Masters, the Kentucky Derby. I mean, we're getting into that time of year. If you like warm weather like I do in spring, you are starting to kind of feel it. I mean, we're in the 70s this week here in North Georgia, and so we're excited about that. And with that means it's kind of the turning of the guard, and we start talking a little bit about hoops and March Madness and all those things. We missed out, Super Bowl, national championship, tail end of the football season, some of the things earlier in the year. But, yeah, March Madness is right around the corner. It's always a fun time. We're going to do a bracket challenge. Speaking of, our friends at Geiger Legal Group are doing a bracket challenge. You can go onto their social media. It's totally free to join, by the way, and it's a $1,000 cash prize. But the caveat, there's really no caveat. There's no strings attached. But I guess the great thing about it is they're also going to donate $10,000 to a charity of your choice. So basically, you're going to be making essentially a $10,000 donation that's not coming out of your pocket, and you're going to get $1,000 cash. This is just something that Geiger Legal Group is doing in the community, so we want to help promote that because it's a great thing that's going to help somebody, but it could help you. So again, go on to their social media. They're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook. Geiger Legal, they have links to join their bracket challenge. Are we going to do one? Because we've done a bracket challenge in the past. I want to say I think I won it last year, if I'm not mistaken.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
I think Art did.
No. I beat Art.
You have to show me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I beat. Who won it? Wasn't it UConn or did he? Because I think I ended up winning it last year.
Last year Florida won it.
Oh yeah, and I think I picked Florida. Yeah, I picked Florida. I was the only one to pick Florida.
Well, you're very convincing with how you said that, by the way. Because you're like, UConn won it.
Well, that was the year before that because UConn had won 2 in a row, I think. Yeah, something like that. I need to go on and look. I either won it last year or the year before. We'll have to go back and look. But
yes, we have always done one amongst our group, and we'll do one again. And I'll take the brains from you here. Yes, so we will do one. Of course, the odds of getting one correct fully is 1 in trillions.
Yeah,
so,
it just don't happen. As long as the what was it, Maryland County, Baltimore University, MCB or whatever, and they beat Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
As long as teams like that exist, the Florida Gulf Coasts of the world, and teams like that exist and end up showing up in the bracket, no one's ever going to completely pick that thing right. So again, it just is what it is. So, but I like to, and you'll be able to tell this. I like to take my digs when I can with like Will and Art and those guys, because trust me, you guys have no idea out there how much heck I get from these guys on a daily basis about everything and anything. So,
but when people watch the video back on YouTube or on any of the other social medias, they're going to see you.
Yeah.
And they're going to say there's so much ammo that he could have gone to that he didn't. It's really a good sign that he's a good friend.
Yes. And we will let them continue to keep thinking that. So again, we're excited about what's coming up. Again, Brave spring training, of course, going on right now. Hey, like I said, we're going to have all 162 for you right here in some way, shape, or form. Once the season gets underway, we're going to be carrying the games here on the Sports Pig, also over on our sister station over on 101.1 The Pulse. We are your home for NASCAR on Sundays primarily, but for Cup racing, we'll have every one of them right here for you as we partner with our friends at Motor Racing Network and also the Performance Racing Network. We have a local Chandler Smith right here in our backyard. We have Chase Elliott right here in our backyard just over the way there in Dawsonville. So Again, we're excited to be here in North Georgia, which is certainly a hotbed of racing. But, man, Coop, I've enjoyed it today. I'll be back with you again tomorrow as we continue our Braves talk. Go Braves. And, again, hopefully we only have good news moving forward.
Yeah, probably not likely, but hopefully you're right.
Hopefully, anyway. We can always hope, I guess. So we appreciate you guys being with us. Once again, check out our social media. The Sports Pig on Facebook and also on Twitter. And, of course, the Morning Rant on Instagram, and also full episodes of this show uploaded on YouTube in case you can't listen live from 10 to 11 right here on 98.1, 93.7, and 101.1 on the HD2 dial. But you can listen to us on the app anytime. Take your fandom wherever you go. And, of course, always streaming live on SportsPigRadio.com. So again, going to wrap things up right here. We've talked about the Braves today. We've talked about high school basketball. We got a lot of big games going on this weekend. We're going to start rolling out some branded segments over the next couple of weeks, things that are going to be specific to some of the folks joining us right here on the program, and we hope you've had a good day here today. We always say our outro, I don't know if I've even told you this, Coop, so just remember this, make a note of it. Our outro for this show is going to be, if you don't know, when I say if you don't know, and then your response, we say it together, is you better ask somebody, right? So that's kind of the way that we end the show here today. So we will go ahead and say that. You ready? Here we go. As always, right here on the Morning Rant, if you don't know, you better ask somebody. We'll see you tomorrow morning right here on the Morning Rant. Thanks for being with us, everybody.